boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. This is Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things right through a common sense lens. And boys and girls, it should not come as a shock out there to anybody that shills are doing their shill thing out there. Obviously, for a very long time out there, audiences and fans alike have been out there bashing a lot of the legacy media institutions out there. The access media, as a lot of people like to call them out there. These people that literally their livelihoods and their entire brand identity is attached to a lot of these major IPs out there, whether it be Marvel, whether it be Star Wars or some other kind of thing out there that they simply cannot let go in any way, shape, or form. And the worst part is a lot of time when these projects fail, right? And instead of blaming the producers, instead of blaming the writers, instead of blaming the people actually responsible for producing the content, they go out there and blame fans. Much like what we've seen Disney Marvel do with their actors and their actresses and the producers out there. You accuse fans of being ists or phobes or whatever it is because something failed miserably at the box office. And as we've talked about a million times before, Marvel burnout is very, very real. And a lot of the audience out there, a lot of the general audiences do not trust Disney, Marvel, Kevin Feige, or Bob Iger in any way, shape, or form anymore. They simply don't want any part of it. They do not believe that they can produce anything good. The only movie that has cracked $1 billion since Endgame was Deadpool and Wolverine. Ladies and gentlemen, an R-rated Marvel movie that literally was leftovers from the Fox cinematic Marvel universe out there with the X-Men and all of that kind of stuff, starring Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. Two actors, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, the actors that the fans and the audiences actually trust out there, which is why that movie made $1 billion. Well, Fantastic Four is not that movie. And despite all of the excuses that Marvel made for all of the reasons why the last few movies have flopped, well, guess what? They don't have any of those excuses for Fantastic Four, and now, color us shocked there, even the shills and the access media are blaming the fans because at the end of the day, apparently the audience is just too stupid to know what's good for them and go out there and throw all of their hard-earned cash over there at the Marvel Cinematic Universe with more MCU garbage, just like Fantastic Four. So color us shocked there. They are having an absolute meltdown and simply cannot handle the fact that, hey, color us shocked there. The majority of the audience doesn't agree with all of you weirdos and all of you talking heads out there on the internet who believe you are our betters, who believe you should educate us, who believe you should decide what succeeds and what fails out there on the box office. And guess what? Like the audience, like those Hollywood has found out, like these studios have found out, and like you are now finding out as well. Your power does not matter. Your quote unquote influence does not actually matter overall, because despite all of your shilling, despite all of your crying, despite all of your whining, this movie, Fantastic Four, is an absolute flop at the box office, and it will cost the Walt Disney Marvel Corporation hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's exactly what they deserve, ladies and gentlemen. So by all means, access media, cry, swine, and complain some more, and by all means, continue to ostracize the audience by calling us stupid and saying that it's our fault Fantastic Four flopped and not Kevin Feige and everybody else involved in the production of this movie. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all the juicy details of exactly what these access media shills have said, and of course how disastrously bad Fantastic Four is flopping at the box office. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,100 subscribers. We're sailing our way towards 22. I think we're sitting at like 2,120, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. What do you think about all this? Does it surprise you at all that the access media are crying and whining that the fans and the audiences didn't show up to make this movie a success, considering everything that Marvel has done to them and everything that they have produced over the last few years? Or do you agree with the access shill media that all of the ists and phobes out there are just a bunch of stupid audience members and they should be more intelligent and they should educate themselves and they should be so much more like the intellectual access media out there and they should love Fantastic Four just like they do? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below, because as always, all opinions are welcome here. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from our dear sweet Marvin Montanaro and thatparkplace.com. And I do say our dear sweet because Marvin is way too kind in his description of how these movies do at the box office. But you know what? That's just the nice kind of guy he is. Myself, on the other hand, have no problem tearing these people out and calling them out for exactly what they've got. Influencers in full meltdown as Fantastic Four First Steps box office plummets in second weekend flop. That's right, boys and girls. Fantastic Four is going to fail and it is going to lose money. And I am here for it. By the way, I mean, come on. Honestly, Kevin Feige, Bob Iger, what's another $300 or $400 million added to the billions of dollars of debt that you already have from everything else you've done since post Endgame as far as Marvel's Cinematic Universe is concerned? How's that MCU working out for you, Feige? Marvel's The Fantastic Four First Steps has experienced one of the steepest second weekend drops in recent MCU history, leaving many to wonder if this will ultimately end up the latest Marvel flop. It will. After a solid opening weekend haul of $117.6 million domestically, that's where I say Marvin's a really nice and sweet guy, because $117.6 million domestically might be good and might be even decent or solid compared to what Marvel has produced since Endgame. But if you go back prior to Endgame, that is not exactly great. And especially if you factor in inflation, comparing it to those other movies out there, this thing is abysmally bad, boys and girls. The film cratered by 66% in its sophomore frame. Well, actually, if we go over here and look at the numbers, boys and girls, it's not exactly the same story out there, because the numbers, unless something has changed in the last few days out there, the numbers marks this as a 19% or a 67% drop from weekend over weekend. So not exactly looking great, boys and girls, and a little higher than the 66% drop, and significantly higher than all of the access media legacy institution Shills out there said, well, it'll have a 55 to 60% drop. It'll be closer to Superman. Instead, it's literally like 11% lower or higher of a drop than Superman's was. So yeah, not exactly doing well. Earning just $40 million over the week August 1 to 3 weekend. This brings its domestic total to around $198.4 million, with global earnings stretching to approximately $370 million after 2 weeks. While the movie has held on to #1 spot at the box office, which isn't exactly saying much considering the competition, the sharp decline far steeper than comparable superhero films like Superman, which dropped a more modest 53% in its second weekend, which honestly, boys and girls, is a guy that's been doing this for about 3 years full time. A 53% drop weekend is something in Hollywood that you write home to your mama about, okay? That is a really good hold weekend to weekend. Your average is a 60 to 70% drop. And guess what? Fantastic Four nailed that right smack dab in the middle. But with that weak opening weekend, it is going to end up losing money based on even just the reported budgets. Boys and girls, this thing has to make $625 million globally in order even for the shills out there to even argue this thing made a profit. It'll be a miracle if this thing crosses $500 million, considering its trajectory right now, boys and girls. While the movie held its #1 spot, which, there we go, has ignited a firestorm of reactions from influencers and online commentators. That's right, the shills have come out in droves to defend Fantastic Four and blame the fans. Wow, so original. What a new argument you've come up with. We've never heard this before. Now have we? Many are melting down in real time on X, blaming everything from the audience stupidity to superhero fatigue. Yeah, God forbid we actually blame bad storytelling fatigue, or of course trying to chase that modern audience with all of your activism that, guess what, doesn't sell with the general audiences, which is what you need to actually make a profit when you have $300 billion budgets for television shows and movies. So yeah, needless to say, who's stupid again on this one? Yeah. While others defend the film amid cries of impending doom for the MCU, I think the second half's more likely. I can't wait to see how Avengers Doomsday ends up doing. And I got this funny feeling, boys and girls, it's probably not going to make $1 billion like they expect it to. The drop is particularly brutal when viewed in context. Early estimates pegged the film's Thursday previews at 24.4 million, edging out Superman's 22.5 million, suggesting strong initial buzz for the star-studded reboot. I mean, star-studded, really? Pedro Pascal, the most overused actor in Hollywood, Vanessa Kirby, who, I mean, what was the last box office hit that she starred in? And the other two guys, like, I've never even seen them in anything before. And honestly, if it wasn't for all the marketing around Vanessa Kirby, I would have never heard of her before this movie either. So yeah, not exactly a star-studded cast. Now, Hollywood thinks they're a star-studded cast, but the general audience does not. Yet the film faced heavy front-loading with a 42% dip from Friday to Saturday. This is all stuff we've been over. Overseas, the picture is mixed, solid, Europe, yada, yada, yada. The precipitous fall has influences across the spectrum losing their cool, turning X into a battlefield of despair, denial, and finger-pointing as influencers battle over whether Fantastic Four is headed for a flop. It is. Here's a roundup of some of the most heated meltdowns. And of course, John Roca, one of the Access Media shills of all shills, one of the guys that's been around since practically the beginning of a lot of this kind of nonsense. He's been around for over a decade, if not even longer, out there reviewing movies, having access, going to all of the cocktail parties, buddying up to all of these producers and directors and stars, hanging out with them, rubbing elbows, and of course, enjoying all of his access. So color us shocked there that it's all the audience's fault. Film and critic and podcaster John Roca didn't hold back, lambasting moviegoers preferring for what they called phenomenally stupid films like Jurassic World Rebirth, which has grossed $731 million worldwide. A lot more than Fantastic Four, and definitely more than Fantastic Four will gross in its entire box office run, over what he perceives to be quality superhero fare. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. The superhero movies are so much better than the Jurassic Park movies. Except, you know, the Jurassic Park movies and the dinosaur movies haven't spent, the last decade and a half completely and totally ostracizing their fan base like Marvel has. And to a certain degree, DC sure as hell did a lot under Walter Hamada. Screw that guy. I'm glad he's fired. But this is what Roca says out here. Some people won't want to hear this, but it might be time for us to stop putting all of the blame on studios or creatives. You mean the people who write, produce, direct, star in, edit, CGI, special effects, and everything else? You mean the people responsible for creating the product that doesn't sell with a general audience? Right. So instead of blaming the creators, you're going to blame the customer. You're going to accuse the customer of being stupid because they didn't buy your crappy product, or because you produced so many crappy products over the last decade that guess what? They're not going to take a chance on you anymore. And at the end of the day, that's not the fans' fault. That's Kevin Feige and the rest of his ilk's fault. John Roca. Boy, I wonder why all of you legacy institution shill access media folks are being replaced by a bunch of idiots on YouTube with microphones. I wonder why. Stop putting all the blame on studios or creatives for underperforming movies. It might be time to start looking at the intelligence level of the moviegoers. That's right. The audience is stupid and doesn't know what they should enjoy. Even though way more audience members and family members went and saw the Superman movie, but didn't go see the Marvel Fantastic Four movie. And even more of them went and saw the dinosaur movie. Boy, I wonder why. Probably despite the continuing pretty much audience and fan agreement that the Jurassic World movies continuing to get worse. You know what they don't have? Going out there and a bunch of marketing that tells their fans and their audiences that they're stupid and accuses them of being ists and phobes when they try to criticize a movie or marketing around a movie. That's what they don't have. That's what Marvel's done, John, over the last decade. So color us shocked there that fans aren't out rushing to see something that is brought to us by Kevin Feige. Yeah. If a phenomenally stupid film like Jurassic World, by the way, he's still using the hashtags, can crush films like Superman and Fantastic Four, mind you, Superman crushed Fantastic Four, at the box office, then something might be wrong with all of us and not the studios. Oh, that's right. It's not your master's fault. It's not your overlord's fault. It's not the people that have you on a leash and yank your chain to make sure you yip and do whatever they tell you. No, that's right. It's the customer's fault. The people that don't want to spend their hard-earned money on something that's probably just going to disappoint them, like everything post-Endgame has disappointed the majority of the Marvel fan base out there. But that's right. We're just stupid. Wow. I wonder why they're losing their relevance. His thread sparked over 35,000 likes and hundreds of replies, with many accusing him of elitism. The audience is never wrong. The story producers always try to blame if a project fails. If you're blaming the audience, you've lost the thread. And of course, he goes out there and goes, oh, that's so stupid to say the massive is never wrong. The masses are never wrong. The massive is never wrong. That's idiotic to say. Audiences in numerous arenas have been wrong in a myriad of ways for centuries on Earth's existence. Yeah, well, guess what? At the end of the day, if you want to make a profit and continue producing products, you're going to have to make your audience happy, because at some point your customers dry up and go away and you go out of business. That's how it works. So maybe instead of worrying about what idiots like John Roca has to say, maybe you should actually be paying attention to what your actual fan base has to say and try something a little bit different. One user fired, oh yeah, we went over that one. Hunter Bolding's box office obsession tirade. Hunter Bolding, a journalist and critic for the hashtag show, went nuclear on the very concept of tracking earnings. This just shows you how stupid and ignorant Hunter Bolding is, not only of basic economics and basic math, that 2 + 2 still equals 4, but any kind of understanding about how a business works. If you want to continue producing your product and serving your customers, you have to make a profit, you moron! But that, of course, doesn't stop. It's like my grandfather used to say, it's better to keep your mouth shut and let everybody think you're an idiot than open it and erase all doubt. Obviously not advice I follow very well, but clearly Hunter doesn't know that either. This obsession with the box office is killing movies and creativity. Who gives a F how much the movies makes? Well, I don't know. Probably all of the employees at Marvel that would like to get paid, all behind the scenes employees, probably all of the stars in the movie that would like to see, if they were smart, they got some kind of profit sharing if the movie does well at the box office. I'm sure they would like to see the box office do well and see if the movie actually makes money. I'm sure the investors inside of Disney would like to see the movie make a profit, considering it's their money Disney's wasting on these absolute disastrous dumpster fires and flops at the box office. I think there's quite a lot of people, Hunter, that are designed and very specifically depending on these movies making a profit. Because if you don't make a profit, Hunter, you don't continue to go on making products. But of course, in your spirit of the age, socialism, Marxist world out there that you live in, that bubble that you live in, Hunter, none of that actual reality. You think money just comes out of thin air and comes from the government. You don't actually understand anything about basic economics or really first grade level math. So that just shows you those are the people that Marvel has been chasing. How well does that work out as well? Bolding's frustration echoes a broader sentiment among some critics, wary of financial metrics overshadowing artistic merit. Oh, that's right. Well, you're just too dumb to understand it. You're just not educated enough to understand how artistic it is out there. But it highlights the denial phase of the meltdown, ignoring that studios like Disney rely on profits to fund future projects. I know, strange concept. It's almost like if a company wants to stay in business, they have to make a profit. Weird. I know. Popular scoop account My Time to Shalom posted egg twice in a quick succession, amplifying the panic. This is worse than I thought. This could be another flop for Marvel. And it will be My Time to Shine Hello. And I like My Time to Shine Hello. I love some of their scoops. They've got a pretty good track record on those kind of things. But they are very much a general Marvel fan. They're not really hardcore one way or the other, but at least they're fair, and they'll call balls and strikes the way they deserve them, which is why I respect them. But this is the other thing out there. But seriously, how do you explain this? Like, what happened? Well, my time to shine, hello, like John Roca and like Hunter and everybody else out there that decided to defend this movie and cry and call the audience stupid and blame the customer for this movie failing and not the people responsible for creating the product. Well, it's very simple, because you don't want to talk about the giant elephant in the room. A lot of people don't. And I know there's people out there that hate the word woke. I don't care. Okay? That's the word that we use for it. You can call it spirit of the age. You can call it political correctness, whatever it is. When I say the word woke, most people have a general, pretty good, solid idea of what that is. Okay? So chasing this ideology, chasing this spirit of the age, prioritizing your activism and your identity politics over good storytelling is what has burnt the Marvel fan base since Endgame, because that is woke. When you put your priorities, your own personal politics over good storytelling. And that is what Marvel has done for the past 10 years. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened with Fantastic Four. I don't know. I didn't see it. I'm not going to go see it at the box office. I'm not giving Kevin Feige any of my money, or your money for that case, because I literally can't do this without all of your guys' support out there. But at the end of the day, this is what's happened. They burned the Marvel fan base, and nobody's going to show up to this. Whether it's woke or not, you did so much woke stuff for so long that the general fan base out there does not trust you. And Fantastic Four proves that. Despite all of the rave reviews and a really good audience score, this movie is still going to be a flop. Marvel critics mocked the film's failure. Of course, Flash, Marvel is doomed. Fantastic Four officially bombs, making it the third MCU flop of 2025. Rodic sarcastic best flop slam. Fantastic Four is the best Disney Marvel flop of the year. And even after he went and saw the movie, the best compliment he could give it was, it's the best Marvel movie of the year. Not exactly a high bar, considering we got Captain Black America and the Thunderbolts. So yeah, needless to say, boys and girls, this hasn't been going well. Film Junkie. Marvel Studios be like, don't look at the Fantastic Four box office drop. Look over here. Yeah, because there's been lots of leaked set images from Marvel's new Spider-Man movie that just began filming Friday, because of course they don't want the headlines to be about the fact that Fantastic Four has flopped. Instead, they want everybody to be talking about Spider-Man. Matt Walsh, I don't give a shit about. Matt Walsh is an idiot. Matt Walsh is a moron when it comes to pop culture, and I don't trust his opinion as far as I can throw his overweight ass. So I really don't care about that in any way whatsoever. And it's one of those situations where it's literally the fresh reactions demonstrate the polarized discourse. From gleeful, I told you so, takedowns to defensive explanations. But one of my favorite responses that I saw, and I saw this long before we saw a lot of the other stuff, is because this I thought was great. Because Gary's response, Rodic, who, if you haven't already, go follow him on his social medias, go subscribe to him on Twitter and Rumble, or on YouTube and Rumble. But Gary puts out this. Obviously, this is responding to John Roca's. Some people don't want to hear this, but it might be time to stop putting all the blame on studios. Maybe the audience is just stupid. Rodic says, and I love this, shout out to Gary, some shills won't want to hear this, but it might be time to stop putting all the blame on the audience for underperforming movies. It might be time to start looking at the intelligence level of the access media. And that's right, because despite these movies being failures, despite them being absolute disastrous dumpster fires at the box office, losing Disney Marvel billions of dollars over the last few years on television shows and on streaming, at the end of the day, 2 + 2 still equals 4. God is still on his throne in heaven. Up is still up and down is still down. Good is still good and evil is still evil. And the majority of the content that Marvel has been producing over the last few years has been arguably evil. It's come from a very bad place. It's come from a place of narcissism, ego, and absolute pride, thinking that all of these people inside of the Marvel workforce, creating these stories, directing these movies, writing these scripts, are smarter than you. They think they're better than you. They think they know more than you. They think they are your superiors, much like all of these access media shills who will die all day and long that they are access media and then post videos of how them rubbing shoulders with Kathleen Kennedy and a bunch of people over there at Lucasfilm. Yes, new rock stars, we're talking about you. And at the end of the day, they want to go out there and think they are better than you. They think they know better than the audiences and the fans out there. And you know what? They'll call you stupid. They'll insult you. They'll tell you you're the moron, that there's something wrong with you because you did not love or trust Marvel's hot garbage that they've been trying to shove down your throat forcibly. And when they couldn't do that, they tried to give it to you rectally over and over and over again. And guess what? As always, the audience is always right. The customer is always right. Because at the end of the day, the fans decide what succeeds and what flops. And when you insult the fans, when you insult the audience, when you decide to degrade your customers and to downplay them, saying that they're not important and that they're stupid, well, guess what? This is your end result. This is your end game, after all. Fantastic Four is a flop. The Shills are crying and whining because they know they have attached themselves to a dying brand and a dying ideology that does not sell, never has, and never will with a general audience. Common sense is taking a foothold. The Lord is taking his proper place back in our culture, and Fantastic Four, all of its girl boss nonsense, is an absolute disastrous dumpster fire at the box office. It will cost Disney Marvel hundreds of millions of dollars, and no matter how much you whine, cry, and try to shill for this movie, it is a flop. And at the end of the day, the only people you have to blame is Kevin Feige, Bob Iger, and the rest of the activists over there at Disney Marvel who have done this to the fans. Because at the end of the day, fans decide. And fans have decided Fantastic Four is a flop. Cry harder, John Roca.